decide that we're not going to buy a Ferrari, and not just because we can't afford one? How long ago exactly was 20 years ago? And Richard fails to follow some basic fucking instructions as we navigate midlife. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo, the Midlife Crisis podcast. Episode 5, Brownie. Now, I've been reading that apparently 90% of all podcasts fail after episode 3. What do you think about that? We're in the top 10% of podcasts of all time.
Yeah, the amount of podcasts, but probably not the listenership.
True.
But that's impressive. True. No, I'm pleased. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing this. It's
part enjoyment, part catching up with friends.
Yeah.
Part therapy, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I find when the family are out, it's a good way to catch up and talk nonsense. But we do this anyway.
That is true. So why not let other people join in the fun? Now, we were talking about, 40 years ago and how long it seems that certain things have happened, but some things don't seem very far in the distant past at all. And I was reminded of it this week because my dad said something, and he was referring to an episode in the past that happened 20 years ago. That was it. He said, it was about 20 years ago. Now, what he was actually referring to was the late 80s, early 90s maybe. But in his mind, that's 20 years ago.
Like the sinking of the Bismarck.
Something like that. And again, this is the passing over the generational battles. Because my granddad used to say 20 years ago as a catch-all for things that happened quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
And this was bought, I remember very clearly something that happened about 20 years ago, actually, around 2005, 2006, something like that. And they were moving out of their flat that they'd lived in East London for 40 odd years, and they were moving closer to my mum in dear old Essex. And they were getting all their stuff together, and he comes down the stairs in this coat, a really smart coat, like an overcoat. It looked really nice. I had never seen him wear this. So God knows where it had come from. So I said to him, he said to me, "What do you think of this?" I thought it looks very nice on you. I think you look very smart. He goes, "Do you want it?" I went, "Well, not sure." I went, "How old is this?" And he said, "I bought it about 20 years ago." So on this timeline, we're looking, what? I don't know, not 80s, early 90s maybe. And I said, "All right, I'll try it on." I tried it on. Didn't really fit that well. I'm a little bit taller than him, and he'd shrunk over the years as well. But as I'm putting it on, trying it on for size, I put my hand in my pocket, and no word of a lie, I brought out a library ticket in that pocket. On that library ticket was the date 1967. A 40-year-old car. I mean, it was nice. They don't make them like that anymore, but sadly, not for me.
Do you know what the scary thing is? The scary thing is I had exactly the same scenario with my dad, and I'll try and dig out the photo. He went to me. It was, I'm going back a few years when this happened, and it was cold. He went, "Here, I've got a jacket you might like." It was a proper Derek Trotter, like the early episodes of Only Fools and Horses, the sheepskin. He went, "Do you want it?" He went, "Good coat, that." Probably about 20 years old. I've seen photos. I was born in 78, so that you can date me exactly. I've seen photos of him in it in 75.
Well, it comes to all of us, Richard. And like last week, I'm going to be unkind and spring a little test on you to see whether we are being unkind to these old geezers, not really knowing how long ago stuff happened. I've got a list here of things what happened.
Things what happened.
Right. And I don't want you to think about it. This is not a general knowledge quiz. I don't want you to spend 4 hours over each answer. This is more about your feeling. Like, if you had to say straight away, so I want you to answer straight away.
Shoot from the hip.
Shoot from the hip. Just what you feel, right? How long ago these things happened? I'm going to write it down. Play along at home, everyone. So, here we go. Are you ready?
I'm already hearing the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Dun, 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 dun.
Maybe I'll try and edit that in, shall I? See.
Fucking won't.
Right. Get ready.
Yeah.
Here we go. 10 questions. How many years ago did it happen? Number 1, Blockbuster went bust. Quick fire.
2001.
Right. How many years... Right, let's start again. How many years ago did these things happen?
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Answer quickly.
Okay.
I'm trying to prove a point here.
Fuck's sake.
You better get these fucking answers wrong. Right. Number 1. When did Blockbuster go bust?
24 years.
24.
My maths is shocking, by the way, so this is going to take a while.
Last episode of Friends. It's not about maths and working it out.
Right.
Just thinking, like, how far...
2009.
It's how many years? How many years?
Fucking hell. 16. This is what I mean. I've got to take it away
16. No, you haven't got... How many years ago did it? Oh, about 10,
yeah.
like, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But don't go round numbers. Right, let's start again.
You're sucking the fun out of this.
All you got to do is follow some simple instructions.
This is what he gets like. He gets shouty.
I'll get frustrated, is what happens. Right, start again. How many years ago, roughly, do you think these things happened?
Okay.
Right. Number 1, Blockbuster went bust.
20.
The last episode of Friends was aired.
16.
Will Smith chinned Chris Rock.
4.
Leicester won the league.
7.
Green Day released American Idiot.
12.
First episode of UK Office was aired.
17.
Britney Spears shaved her head.
What did you just call her? Britney shit?
Britney Spears. Britney Spears.
That's got to be 19 years.
19. The first iPhone was released. First iPhone was... Shut up! First iPhone was released.
22.
Gangnam Style got 1 billion views.
Oh, 9.
PlayStation 2 come out.
I should get this. I'm a gaming wanker. 17.
17. Right. How do you reckon you did? Apart from once you actually understood the concept.
That's sucked all the happiness out of my life.
Oh, good. I'm glad I've achieved something today, if nothing else. Right. Blockbuster. Blockbuster. You said 20. The good old 20 years ago. The actual answer is 12. Oh. Last episode of Friends, you said 16. 21 years ago, they were. Will Smith, these next two pretty good. Will Smith chinned Chris Rock 3 years ago, not 4. Leicester won the league 9 years ago. Ooh. You said 7. Right, this one absolutely blew my mind when I thought of this. Green Day's American Idiot came out. You said 12. Actual answer, 21 years ago.
Sorry?
2004 that came out.
And you know what? I didn't like it because it was too modern for me when that came out. I genuinely didn't like that album because Green Day weren't. Basket Case was and Dookie were my albums.
Yeah, they're coming up to 30, maybe even older than 30 years old. They are now. First episode of The Office, you said 17. Actual answer was 24. Britney Spears, or Spears, as I did not Steve McLaren
impression.
Yeah. You did pretty well. 18, you said 19. Good enough.
Listen, this is one thing I know. I do a lot of studying of Britney Spears, you know what I'm saying?
I bet you did, you dirty bastard. Right. First iPhone was 18 years ago. You said 22. Gangnam Style 13 years ago. You said 9. And PlayStation 2 came out 25 years ago. You said 17.
Wow.
So it does get harder. It does get a bit harder, doesn't it, to really try and get a handle on how long ago things were. I find it, you know, a little bit depressing. I think, and we're talking about midlife crisis. I think these sorts of statistics are what starts to really kick it off into overdrive.
Think about it. We spent probably the best summer of our lives in Ibiza, and that was 1999. Feeling fine in 99. I mean, that was an incredible summer.
Well, in the previous episode, we talked about kids not hearing of Back to the Future. When, dear listener, Richard and I were working in Ibiza, we were paid in pesetas.
We were.
My wife's economics students had never heard of the peseta either. What, you mean there was something before the euro?
It's not scary because it's...
I think it is scary.
You know.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is scary because of there's no good reason why they should know that. That's the thing. All right, if you're a little bit more curious about the world, but why would you, as a normal 17, 18-year-old girl doing A-levels in economics, you're not really focused on the history? Why would you assume that there was a currency? What was the currency before? It's the same thing as thinking, was there a currency before sterling or the dollar?
Yeah,
Or the euro. In the case of the euro, the answer is yes, there was. But how would you? It's not part of the curriculum, and so how would you even know?
I mean,
or am I letting them off?
When my dad talks about shillings and stuff like that, it's completely alien. You might as well be like horse racing guineas. You know, you might as well pay with stuff with a pig in a bag. As far as I'm concerned, that's how I see.
Yeah, old pounds, shillings, guineas, groats.
A groat, that's a great one.
But at least I'd heard of it.
Yeah. No, I was aware of that because I think I don't know if we were more inquisitive or the fact that it was closer to. I don't know.
Decimalisation was like in the early 70s. We were born in the late 70s, so. By the time, we're old enough to hear our grandparents talk about pound, shilling and pence, we're still only like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So, and, that was a part of their everyday life, of course.
Yeah.
Whereas, pesetas and lira and drachma, the old favourites.
Didn't you feel good, though, when you used to get like 100 peseta note or
used to love the note.
It was like a quid. 10 peseta. And that was the best thing about it. It seemed more, but it was 10 to a pound. It was lovely. No matter what, it didn't matter if you went in 87, 88, 89, 95, whenever it changed. I'd say this again. I can't even remember when it changed. But it was 10 to a pound. You knew where you stood.
Indeed. I like the peseta coin with the hole in it. You could wear it as a chunky medallion.
Come back off your holidays all pink like a refresher lolly with a little peseta around your neck. Everyone knew you'd been on holiday.
So I guess the question is, do you think that time is speeding up for you?
It does. It feels like it certainly feels like weeks go quicker, months go quicker, everything goes quicker. But I don't know if that's getting older or the fact that you've got so much more happening in your life. When you were younger, you went to school, you watched crap on telly, you had a bath, you went to bed. There wasn't much to fill your time. And as you get older, it feels like a work day. There's so much to get done. And before you know it, and I think it's just with more responsibility, it seems like time shrinks.
Well, I do get that. Where, at the start of my career, I used to, when I was working in Sainsbury's as a student, you're looking at the clock every 5 seconds, just wishing it would speed up, or putting the stuff on the shelves, thinking, how long's that? That's got to be 2.5 hours, easy. I've been doing this for 2.5 hours. That's easy. Look. 12 minutes. Oh, fuck. In contrast, today, you're looking at a clock and think, oh, fuck, I am running out of time. But for me, that is the thing that feel that ticking away very, very loudly about. I am running out of time. Yeah. Which, I've talked to some colleagues or some former colleagues who are now retired who would cut their right arm off to be 45 right now. Yeah.
It's all relative. It's you can never go back, but you always want to. Yeah, that's the thing. And
you often get those memes about when people achieve things or launch stuff, like Colonel Sanders didn't release KFC or launch KFC until 65.
He must have been fuming.
Why is that?
Well, you've got the golden ticket, and everything hurts, and you can't. Like we're talking about, you can't do the fast cars, the bikes, the ponytail. What was he, 70? Was he 67 or 76?
65. And
65.
He's already got a very established look.
I mean, that looks problematic, so we're not even going there.
I agree. It is. But, I mean, they haven't shied away from it since. Have they? Is the Colonel still...
They have. He's not on anything.
All right, I'm not a big KFC eater for that reason.
Get yourself to Blue Water, you'll see.
Oh, right, so they got rid of him, have they?
Yeah.
Right, probably for the best. Yeah, but I don't find any comfort in these these memes about how long it took.
No.
And as you say, like, you want to be like, when you're successful, you want to be young and cool. Because an old geezer in a Ferrari, I mean, it'd be great, wouldn't it, to walk into the dealership?
I wouldn't grumble.
But you just look like a complete knob.
Yeah.
Or does everyone in a Ferrari look like a knob?
No, because I literally, one drove past me this afternoon. I mean, it was 8 degrees out. Black Ferrari went past me. He was in his 40s, mirrored shades, standard, and he had the roof down. And I went, fair play, son. Fair play. Do you know what? Yeah. You got it. Flaunt it.
Yeah, I'm not against that by any means. It's just, you know, what would you prefer? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. But I think Ferrari is probably out of reach of most normal people. I think it's fair to say that. But is that part of the midlife levelling up that you're trying to do? The idea that, you know, but let's look at it in a positive way. We want to look at these things in a positive way. And the idea that midlife crisis isn't necessarily self-destruction. And indeed, that's part of the reason we launched this podcast, is that we want to move away from those self-destructive cliches. And sometimes it's about just making better choices. So maybe instead of buying a Ferrari, you get into road cycling. Or instead of drinking too much, you get into biohacking and supplements. And instead of aimless scrolling, you do a podcast about your midlife experiences.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, even with like owning something like a Ferrari, they make it so difficult, and I think that's part of everyone's desire for it. A friend of mine did very well for himself very quickly. Being like us, he went to Ferrari. I can afford that. I'll have it. And do you know what they said to him? Because it was a brand new model, they went, oh no, you have to have owned a Ferrari before you can buy that Ferrari. And at that point, I'm like, I don't want it. Or if it's that sort of level where you have to be invited, you have to be part of the club. And he did the same thing. He went, I'm never gonna buy one.
But I think Rolex do this as well. You can't just bowl into Rolex and buy yourself a watch. That'd be fucking ridiculous. This is something I've learned through Reddit rather than I'm not really a big watch person. But you have to go into a dealer and build up a buying history of buying loads of other shit you don't want, in order that when they get some additional stock of a Rolex, you're at the front of the queue to buy the thing that you actually want. And there's people spending hundreds of thousands of, normally dollars, on shit they don't want so that they can post on Reddit Rolex, I got the call. They got summoned by Rolex. Yes, we will allow you to buy a watch from us. Man.
Yeah. My relationship with social media has gone over the last few years through many different things, where I have Facebook. I'm troubled with the whole environment of Facebook, but I have it purely because it's nice to see family that are overseas, friends you don't see, blah, blah, blah. But I don't post on it because there's so much inane nonsense. Again, posting watches, posting dinners. Dinners is the thing that freaks me out the most. It's like, go out for dinner, enjoy it. The fact that someone can sit there, but the fact that you can sit there when you're out with your wife and take a picture of your dinner blows my mind. It's a marketing thing, like with Rolex. Oh, you need to earn this watch. You need to be worthy of this watch. I don't want it. I don't need that acceptance from these companies. They don't care about you.
Well, that is maybe one of the better things about midlife, is that you can be more comfortable in your own skin, and those sort of status symbols don't mean as much anymore. But so where do you think, when you think about those things, where do you think the line is between just upgrading yourself and being in full-blown crisis? Like when does self-improvement tip into overcompensation?
It's all about where your life is. It's having a financial level and then what you can afford. You never not stretching yourself beyond that for something that ultimately either you're going to drive or wear on your wrist. Marshawn Lynch, the NFL player, said, if you can't afford to pay for it outright, you can't afford it. Even if you pay for it monthly. If you can't afford it outright, you can't afford it.
That's not a bad credo to live by. Not one that I actually live by.
No, neither do I. But I like to think about it.
Yeah. When I'm good, Lord, make me virtuous, but not yet.
Yeah, when I'm a multi-millionaire, it's very easy to say those things, which he is. But yeah, it's one of those things.
That's not a bad thing, because I think taking those things to extreme, like either whether it's financially or, we talked about weight loss jabs in previous episodes, and you have to be careful about the health side of that and not developing, say, body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Now, my wife thinks I've got body promorphia, where I think I look a lot better than I actually do.
Well, you're doing a monkey a month on mirrors.
Well, that's a good thing about mirrors. They tend not to be consumable. So I'm happy with that. Which is good, given the amount of time I'm going by standing there flexing. But no, I think it's an important thing where, you don't get too obsessive. And we mentioned in the first episode, I think, the other Brian Johnson, the tech guy, who will cover that in greater detail at some point. But I think he's taking it too far. Well, he's taking it beyond the boundaries, and for what reason? I mean, we can look into that, but it's definitely that would be something that I think would affect your relationships, and maybe that is the key. When things start to affect the relationships that you hold dear to you, maybe it's a time to reassess. Now, my tattoo and testosterone version of this is, relatively unburdensome on my family, and to a large extent they've been the beneficiaries of it as well, where I've got more energy. I feel like I can be a better father and a husband because of it, just simply because I've got more energy. So that's a good thing. I do go to the gym and try and carve out the time for that, but I'm not obsessive about it.
But they're all good things. They're all positives for your life and the family's life. And the testosterone thing, I've been meaning to talk to you about it, and we're better than the podcast. I think in the next episode, I would like to, because you know me, I'm open to these things, but there's stuff I want to talk to you about it, where my, not reservations, but the questions I want answered about it before I go balls deep and end up like Triple H.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. So next episode, we'll talk about the testosterone journey that I've been on, and I've been eulogising it to my friends and family. But I should say there are things to consider about that, whether it's family health history, your dosage, the research that you should do ahead of time, and after that, at some point, we'll have an actual testosterone replacement therapy doctor come on.
Brilliant.
To answer those questions.
That's what I want.
That's what you want? So I think that should be a theme of the podcast going forwards, where we're able to relay our own personal experiences of that, but also try and get people to come on who actually know what the fuck they're talking about, to give us some facts and some actual information rather than
listener, I've known Mark since he was a child. He is a black belt third dan at making you convinced he knows what he's talking about. And a lot of the time he does, but he can suck you in so easily.
Unfortunately, I've gained a large success. Let me rephrase that. What meagre success I have achieved in my life is not as a result of accumulation of knowledge, but the projection of confidence.
Listen, it works for the president, doesn't it?
Yeah. We get a bit political and topical at the moment.
We've got a bit Ben Elton there.
So next time, let's talk about the testosterone replacement therapy. This is something that's been going on with me for over a year since I began the journey, and it's had some ups and it has had some downs as well. So I'm happy to disclose what they are. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and we will talk to you again very soon. See ya.
See you soon.